On
Yeah,
there where,
for sure.
so where's the ramp out?
Ramp pad, okay. Ramp pad is right here.
Okay, see where that green dot is?
Right here?
Yep, that's about where I saw them digging. I don't know if it was up above the tracks or down right there.
Okay, so that is not vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride areas are all over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll follow up on that. That's real close to, remember that absorbent material I told you they were digging out
Yeah.
a while back? That was there and there. That might be some of the, they may find some residual of that absorbent material, but I'll find out.
Yeah, it was like right near that green dot.
Okay.
Because I was driving down the road, so I can't say exactly. I could have been on the other side of the tracks. Too,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, it might be ditch restoration. That's the other thing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'll show you on the other map too. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
But if it's ditch restoration, that wouldn't surprise me if the soils around for ditch restoration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was at the same time that, about the same time as they were digging everything else.
Okay. So that would be, so that's the ramp fab's right here. That would be right over here.
Okay.
All right, so this is the important map. We're going to put a version of this in the newsletter. I just want to get your opinions on how clean this is. So these are all the areas that have been sampled in final confirmation. And here are the vinyl chloride hits, right? 1, 2, and there's 2 and like literally right next to each other. So 3 areas, and they've already been dug up, shipped off site. So this one was that area. Here's the wetland area up here. It was right along the tracks where the waste was being hauled. Mm-hmm. So the waste would get hauled over here. It would come across.
Well, I can still see it.
I know, but it's still bothering me.
It's a pain.
There we go. Yeah, it would get hauled. We had a road dug. Norfolk had a road constructed across the tracks, and then it would come over here, and it would get hauled to the waste staging areas. Mm-hmm. This was the haul road away from the waste staging areas before it would go into the truck wash and then onto the, okay? So these are all, basically they're all waste transportation areas. So it doesn't surprise me that we had these low level hits.
So are they from like hauling dirt or water and it accidentally got spilled?
It could be.
Okay.
We'll never know.
Because that's why I thought, well, maybe that's why it was in a low level.
Yeah, we'll never know, but it could be, yes. So here, here are the data. There we go. Okay, 13 micrograms, 14 micrograms, 8.5 micrograms, and this one down low. Come on.
Well, why you say 14 and there's 0?
I'll show you. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
And then this one was at 5 micrograms. So because they're reported in milligrams.
Oh, okay. That's
So
what
micrograms you go 3.
The UG.
3 over. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. It's 13.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. That's 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the UG instead of NG.
That's right.
Okay.
So and then the exceedance level is 3.9, right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 3.4. I'm sorry, 3.4 is the exceedance level. So the one on this road was barely over. A little bit more. These were two were together. So the 8.5 and the 14 were next to each other. 13 was that first one we found. And so that's that. Haven't found any more, and all these green dots are non-exceedances.
So this is just one?
It's one location.
Okay, because there's 2 purple dots.
2 samples in one
Okay.
location, yeah. So this sample was, they were both 6 to 12 inches beneath the ground surface, so right in the same area. Mm-hmm. And they were right next to each other, so we consider that one area.
Okay.
But they were 2 detections.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go look at the map, come over here. So that first one, again, is right where I was pointing the other day. You saw Mickey's video. These 2 were right in here, this transportation area, and that other one was right in here, right before the truck wash. So
Well, that's still across the street.
still across the street, yeah, all of this. So, and then this work is being done now. So as the tanks are getting
these are from you guys testing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Norfolk Southern.
So when you haul dirt from over here,
Yeah.
or when it gets, you said that they weren't testing as soon as you haul it up.
Yeah, so what
But-
we're doing over there is scraping
Uh-huh.
in piles. And the piles get a composite sample.
Uh-huh.
And that composite sample is lab. Everything goes back in non-detect and composite, then you can ship off as non-haz. And that's what we anticipate.
So when they get to wherever they're going, are they testing it there?
At this site,
Yeah.
usually not, unless they have a reason to. So early in the process, everybody's so concerned about these Palestine wastes that the facilities would then also collect samples.
Okay.
And they confirm that, their numbers are right, almost like that.
Okay.
You know,
Because I was
just like
thinking,
yours.
well,
Yeah.
after, the thing came out last week, and then the other two samples were posted on, or the other two results were posted on, the website,
Mhm.
I was thinking, well, maybe that, it come from over here, so it got checked by the facility, and that's where it's, and that's why it was like all of a sudden, because I know you guys' testing takes a while to come back,
That's
and
right.
ours came back in like 2 weeks, so.
Well, the difference is we have thousands of samples.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, because
Yeah.
the Eurofins had told me, well, you only have one sample, so it's gonna
Yeah.
be quick.
Yeah, so sample date, this was sampled back in February.
Okay,
February 19th, and April
April.
2nd, So, and this one was January, I think.
Yeah.
January 19th, yeah. So that's why, so, yeah.
okay,
Yep. And then, like I said, as soon as we see the vinyl chloride in exceedance, because of the state of Ohio's, what they call their contained in rule, any vinyl chloride exceedance has to be dealt with.
mm-hmm,
That's the rule. Right?
okay,
Even if it's below hazardous or human health standards and things like that, it has to be dealt with because of that, the way that rule is written.
theirs
now-
is like a zero tolerance policy.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much for groundwater protection.
Mhm.
Yes. Now there's other exceedances, and eventually we'll post all the data. There are others like there's some naphthalene, there's some.
Yeah, naphthalene was one we saw pretty
Yeah,
high.
yeah. There's some of the other pHs like the pyrenes.
Mm-hmm,
There's some low-level benzene, which is consistent with all the petroleum and burn-related contaminants. So spotty, it's spotty
Mhm.
exceedances. Those can be dealt with as non-HAZ, or non-CID, I should say. So they'll get dealt with eventually. So that little dig that you saw over there, you'll probably see, and we're going to explain this in the next newsletter. You're probably going to see a lot of little digs like that happening, right?
Mhm.
You have a couple PAH exceedances. We'll just come in, dig that area out, to the clean points, and then ship it off. But it'll all be non-HAZ. But so my question for you is, we're going to put something like this in the newsletter. We're going to get that done. Get it worked on next week. Hopefully, get it out before the holiday. But would something like this be helpful?
yeah, I
It
think
shows all
so.
the non-detects for VC, and then those few couple of detects.
So that's all just VC?
Yeah, that's only VC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
'Cause that seems to be the one that's getting a lot of attention, right?
Yeah, because that's what was pushed in the news
That's right.
at the beginning,
That's right.
was vinyl chloride. I think that there's, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the problem that's making people sick. I
Okay.
think it's the stuff that's in the creeks, like the combined amounts.
Hmm.
But that's why the researchers are
Right.
here. But yeah, I think that the stuff in the creeks is more of the problem.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way, because a lot of folks, still think we have a big vinyl chloride problem here, and I know we don't.
Well, I think that the vinyl chloride thing it's so big because that's what was pushed in the news.
That's right. And I mean, over 100,000 pounds of it was burned, or
Yeah.
1 million pounds of it was
Yeah.
burned. That's not, it's not to be taken lightly. But I mean, just all the.
Well, I had looked at the test results from, they're terrible to read, but from DEP over in PA. And they had, it doesn't tell you amount or anything, but over, like all the way up where 168 and 51 meet, there's a farm down that way that they tested, and it had vinyl chloride on there, but it says does not exceed. But that doesn't mean that they didn't find it.
So that'd be a good question for them.
Like, why would there be vinyl chloride there?
I wouldn't think there would, not, at least not from the drone.
And her neighbors too.
I mean, if they had
They have it.
If they had a solvents on site, right, some machining solvents,
Yeah.
then that, those break down vinyl chloride.
Mhm.
So it's interesting, like when we do dry cleaner sites,
Yeah.
I think I've told you this before.
Dry cleaners are bad.
Dry cleaners are bad, and when trichloroethylene and perchloroethylene get spilled into they spill these facilities, they make it right through cracks in the concrete, and then they end up soaking into the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their final daughter product, breakdown product, is vinyl chloride. And so vinyl chloride is the indicator chemical that we use to figure out what the extent of contamination is for a dry cleaning groundwater.
That trichloroethylene,
Mm-hmm.
I just watched Stephen Lester on Status Quo the other day, and he had mentioned trichloroethylene too.
Yeah, what was he talking about there? Was he just talking? Was it just his general?
They were just talking,
points?
I think, about what vinyl chloride can break down to,
Mhm.
and he had said that too. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Like,
Yeah.
I knew the formaldehyde is a thing that comes up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then some of the other ones I had recognized too. But
Yeah.
that trichloroethylene, I didn't know about that before.
Yeah. Yep. And perchloroethylene too. Mr. Lester, and when you talk to him, tell him he has my respect, 100%. I was talking to some of our researchers who worked on the PCB and the dioxin regulations back in the 90s, and they said Lester was really helpful. Like he's
really smart.
Yeah, he's really smart. He would take on industry, right? He was the one that wasn't afraid to stand up in the middle of and support our position about establishing standards, health-based standards, as opposed to I wasn't there back then, but the industry didn't want to go to risk-based standards, and that's where we come up with the toxic equivalency for both PCBs and dioxins. And Lester was fully in favor of it, and our researcher said he was great to have in the room because he wouldn't let these guys, he wouldn't let these guys get away with anything less than a risk-based approach.
He's tried to explain some stuff to me too, and he's working on something with the test results that we've sent him to help us better understand some stuff too.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we have nothing but respect for him, so make sure he knows that. Now, some of the other people sticking their nose in this community, not so much, but he's great. He really is. We disagree with some of his points on us, but that's okay. I mean,
Yeah, there's things that you're going to agree with and things you
that's
disagree
right.
with. That's
but
life.
He's credible, and I just want to make sure you know that. Okay, so that's this. So the other thing I want to show you, see that map over there, the green and the yellow? So all those areas in green have been cleared. We went through, did additional sampling to make sure the water flows out of those areas are clean when water flows into ditches and things like that. And the only one remaining that's been sampled but not cleared yet is that yellow one up there. And then all those white ones at the bottom. Again, we have all those tanks sitting up there.
Right.
So those can't get cleared until all that, all those tanks are gone and the sampling's done. So
Is there a white spot in between the two greens
there is.
up there?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's where the water treatment.
That's what I was going to ask if
blues.
it was
That's where the big blues are. Yeah. Yep.
because I just read something from East Palestine earlier about that area.
Yeah. And then there's a little white spot above the yellow spot. That's where the six tanks are.
The smaller ones.
Yeah. So when I have more time, maybe late next week, if you want to go on a drive up there.
That one across the border.
Pennsylvania border's here.
Yeah, the square.
That,
Yeah.
that was one of the staging areas, I believe. I'll have to check in with our team.
That's where I was thinking that little pull off was.
Yeah, it might be.
On
As a
Google
matter of
Earth.
fact, I'm sure it
Yeah.
is. I'm sure it is. Yeah.
By the wetlands.
Yep. Yeah, no VC there. So,
When did you guys test over there?
I'll have to go back and look. Actually, you can see it better on that map. See the little orange square at the end of that map? The map in the middle?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the dates, but that probably would have been about the same time we were doing
Okay.
this work. So what is that? Between February and April.
Okay.
So
What if you, since you have to clean up the soil when you find vinyl chloride, if you would find it in water, what would you do?
well, it depends on where the water was.
Like
right?
if it was in the public water?
That's happened before.
Yeah.
We've had sites where we'd have to enhance the water treatment facility, and they've already done that here.
Oh, with the carbon?
With the carbon.
Yeah.
Carbon will take it out. So carbon and potassium permanganate are the two water treatment components. The potassium permanganate they used for the air stripping process to make sure all the vapors coming off the water treatment system were not emitting VC into the neighborhoods. But yeah, that would be one. They would have to engineer it. They'd have to look at the levels and engineer it, look at the effluent. I'd be more concerned about. I wouldn't be concerned about the municipal water. I'd be more because of where the wells are. The wells are over on the other side of East Palestine Park.
Yeah.
Groundwater flows doesn't flow in that direction from the site. I'd be more concerned about the private wells.
Yeah.
And so that's why we.
Somebody had brought that up before, or
Yeah.
at the what's his name, Attorney General thing.
The Yoast, yeah.
Yeah, it was that she had vinyl chloride in her well, but then nobody ever told her,
So
and then it was gone.
I watched that.
Yeah.
That we've never had a detection. So if she has had it, if you know her, tell her.
Yeah, I don't know who she was.
Okay.
I was surprised
Tell
to
her
hear.
to show me the results because
Yeah.
we've seen the Columbiana County Health Department on our side and PA, on the other side of the border are doing the private well testing. We've seen nothing. And I've had several instances where residents said, I've got vinyl chloride, right? And I'm like, show me the data. And only one person showed me data, but his surrogates, I think we've talked about surrogates before, his surrogates, vinyl chloride was used in the surrogates. So either he wasn't being honest, or he was confusing the surrogates with actual data. So, and that might have been the case in her situation.
Yeah.
Ashley McCollum said the same thing. She goes, I got vinyl chloride in my house, and I said, show me the data, and it's all non-detect, but surrogates.
Yeah.
She's
That's like kind of like looking at a field blank.
yeah, because it was a spike.
Yeah.
The sample in the lab. Yeah. Yeah. So what else? Oh, so the Yoast meeting. I thought your comments were good. You brought up the ecological issues, right? And just for your reference, somebody sent me an email about that. Said, hey, what do you think about those comments about ecological levels? So I sent a note back to him. I said, hey, yes, we agree that that we have these exceedances. That's part of what we're hoping that the legacy contamination cleanup that's under our consent decree, once it's approved, will help address those eco issues.
They're not high above
No.
the ecological.
No, that's why I think they're probably manageable. But I think you made a comment about trees. Somebody made a
Yeah,
comment
there
about
was a
trees.
lady that was talking before me, and that's why I went up to talk.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I mean, this is what I know from the testing we've done.
Yeah.
But she had said, like, I don't know where the lady lives or anything, but she had said, like, all the trees along her property were dying.
Okay.
And last year when this happened, we noticed, before I even, did any testing, we had noticed, like, around here, the trees were all behind.
Oh.
We went to a tractor store or something over towards Lisbon. And the trees were like full bloom. They already had their leaves and everything on them, and ours had nothing. And it was the same up here in town. And like anywhere that was that way, as basically probably as far as center, was like there were no leaves. And so we're like, there's something going on. Why is everything behind?
Yeah.
And then this year, it took a while, but I hadn't been out to know the difference. So, but I was like, well, now it makes sense. If the ecological levels are higher, maybe it did affect the trees.
Yeah. Well, in the streams, I doubt they would. I don't think anything in the streams would affect trees. That was
Except the
gonna be
ones growing by it.
That was gonna be my one piece of feedback back to you, is I don't think it would affect trees, because those ecological levels are, at those levels, where the sensitivities are to, you know, the microorganisms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, remember when we did when Bill did the.
Like the bugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed you all the different, types of, those are the things he impacted by the ecological impacts. And that's why he was thrilled when, even up by where we were at the water plant, that those things have come back, right? And that's a big deal to him.
Yeah, the bugs I've noticed are like those water spiders, the ones that like go across the surface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a big deal in his world. That's a big deal. That means that means the stream is recovering. Now, that doesn't mean it's perfectly healthy,
right?
Because you see the numbers. But yeah, just to put it into context, those levels are so, I can't imagine they would affect trees.
Yeah, trees are bigger than us.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that on the way home. I was like, wait a minute, because the trees are bigger than we are.
Yeah.
So, except for, I thought, well, maybe they're like the trees near the creek, their roots are all right there within the creek area, so that it could be sucking up the water from the creek. But I don't know.
Well, that's
I
a
don't
good
know
point.
enough about it.
I didn't think about that. So back when you had high toxicity in the water, when you had all the chemicals moving down in February and early March, and they were still present, all the volatiles were still present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
All that stuff, that's the thing, since you mentioned something and it triggered my brain. But you remember last year when all that, it was like, the creeks looked real nasty with like the growing brown stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
What was that?
It was probably, I'm guessing, totally guessing, it's probably the effect of nutrients, right? So I'll give you an example. If I take, if I fill a jar of water from the tap in there, East Palestine water, right? It's gonna come out, it's gonna look like normal water, right? If I put a couple drops of sodium hydroxide in there and bring the pH up to above 9, you're going to see all this brown stuff precipitate out. Those are minerals, right? Likewise, when you have, think of blue-green algae or red tide down in the Gulf, right? All the nutrients from farming, agriculture gets in, and the biological activity creates that material, right? Nutrients are doing that. I wouldn't be surprised with the heavy nutrient load that got into the creeks. Chemicals are still nutrients, right? They're still energy. They're still an energy source, even though they have other side effects, right? I wouldn't be surprised if it was some type of growth because of the lack of oxygen. So you had anaerobic growth of either biological material or non-organic material. Did you see that article that came out recently from the University of Wisconsin about how a third of the country? Yeah. So those are the types of those non-organic compounds that calcium, magnesium, iron, oxides. I asked one of our researchers, and he goes, "Oh yeah, this is good. This is good science." He goes, "This is really interesting stuff." He goes, at the end of the day, from local impacts, our off-site soil sampling program, gives you much better resolution on direct impacts in the community than that more global thing. Because this is good. This is really good information.
Well, does that mean that the further out was more affected than, not more affected than here, but does that lessen the load here since it went further out?
So yes and no. We looked into that. We looked into that early on, and we asked our national labs. So the heaviest deposition from the Benton burn was in Pennsylvania, not Ohio. Right. You know that. However, what you can't see, because we asked the researcher who did all the modeling for us. We said, we're more interested in the heaviest particulate matter. He goes, you can't really show that on the map because it's just gonna be one dot right where those train cars are. Right? So right where those train cars are, heavy particulate matter is going to go up in the air and drop right back out. Right. So right there on site, you're going to have, you can go around and collect samples, within 50 feet of those cars, and every now and again, you're gonna get a sample that's through the roof, right? With all kinds of contaminants, because it's a heavy particulate that landed right there, right? So that was, because of that effect, when we did our offsite soil sampling program, that's one of the reasons that we targeted more samples around the derailment site than we did downwind, until we got to the heavy plume area. Then we targeted a number of samples in the heavy plume area.
That's the thing I never understood, is why did you guys test upwind mostly instead of downwind?
We didn't. We did, what we did was, the way it was designed, let me pull it up. The way it was designed was,
Because whenever I did my EMT class, like when we were told, and this is the thought that I had, well, why would you do that? Because we were told when you approach like a hazardous site, you approach from upwind because you don't want to come in downwind because you're going to be in it.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you look at the profile of the wind during the burn, the regular burn, the independent burn,
Southeast.
that first weekend you had stuff all over the place, right? I mean,
Yeah, it went southeast and then up, and then after the derailment happened, it was back to the southeast, and then it went back up again.
Yeah. So you had, within the first mile, you had 360-degree coverage. That's why the soil sampling program was designed that way. Let's see, soil sampling. Now, it was as much sampling as we could do, right? And then once you get outside of a mile, like this is East Palestine Park, this is the high school, we targeted some sensitive locations to make sure that we had samples in locations. But we wanted to and then we went downwind into the heavy part of the plume into Pennsylvania. That's why that's there. Then we wanted a better background study, so we went from Eden Valley near where Hillary lives, all the way around to outside of New Waterford. Collected a lot more background samples. We had a couple background samples right up in here. Give us a couple hits outside the 2 mile zone.
This dot down here is kind of like my neighbor's.
Okay. Yeah, and these all
I know
came back.
Tetra Tech did his testing.
Okay. These all came back low.
What's the orange one over there? That's along the
Oh,
highway.
yeah, so that's what I was getting ready to show you. So all these yellow dots is where we found deposition of material. Most of it was that scaly material that came off the tank cars. So we were just showing that, that the modeling showed, and our visual assessment showed where we saw, we saw that scaling material. So we targeted a bunch of samples to that. We actually collected soil with that material in it. That was the furthest out we saw there. And then we found this one in East Palestine Park. I went and talked to our samplers about it. He goes, we classified it as ash or soot. And he goes, when he showed me the picture, it was this white material. It didn't look anything like the other material. He goes, but because it was unusual, we went and documented it anyway. So that's how it was designed. It was designed to give us a statistically significant background coverage. It was designed to give us 365 degrees around the derailment site itself, and targeting locations in the downwind zone where the initial plume went. So any deposition, ash or soot deposition, or heavy particle deposition around the derailment site, which is right there, we would see it with this level of sampling. So, and we did. We saw a couple areas on roadsides that were elevated compared to on property. Kevin Costco, he's a local environmental guy.
I recognize the name.
Yeah, because we reviewed Smith's data, and his data was bad. So we informed the Figleys that data was not usable. And they had this Kevin Costco guy do sampling in the same, they actually a more extensive sampling on more elevated, close to the road. And as you got closer to the facility, it was back to, it was low background levels.
That's the thing I don't understand. So we have one of them air monitors. I think that Dr. Haynes did or something, the little carrier air monitors.
So that was provided by the way station.
Okay, yeah. But, so I have one of those, and then Chrissy has one at her house. And so I'll compare the two of ours, because she was like, well, if you see it go up, just let me know. But why would mine be higher than what hers is? Because she's up here in town.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why is mine so high all the time?
So I don't know.
Because
the way
I live out in the middle of nowhere.
I read the specs on those things. So they do volatile organics measurements. They do particulate measurements. Those are the two main things they do. Do you have higher levels of particulates or VOCs? What is it telling you?
Well, what I noticed is that the VO, it's like if you pay attention enough to it, you notice a pattern going on. And like you guys have said, well, whenever you cook something, stuff is going to go up. And we use like a ceramic pan.
You see it go through the roof.
And it will go through the roof. And I'm like, Dad, you're making the VOCs, it will go up to almost 1,000 sometimes. And I'm like, you're making the VOCs go up again. And then sometimes when you cook with a different kind of pan, I think it's like a cast iron pan, the PM 2.5 goes up.
Interesting.
And then
that'd be a good study.
There's also different times of the day, like usually about 4 o'clock in the morning, and like a lot of other people have noticed it too. About 4 o'clock in the morning, the VOCs go up. And everybody's sleeping usually at 4 o'clock. I notice because a lot of the time I'm still awake or just, they go up at like 4 in the morning, but they go down around midnight to 0. At my house, they'll go down to like 0. And then we've also noticed when we notice them doing work at the creek, at those times of day, whenever you said that their work hours are, the VOCs go up.
All the way out of your place?
Yeah. And so I'm like, well, that's
regardless of
interesting.
wind direction, or?
Oh, I didn't pay attention to wind direction. But, like, it's just interesting because it's like those hours, and that's when other people's are going up here, too.
Well, you know, those are also common work hours. You have a lot of heavy equipment,
so there's
exhaust.
Even just people driving around on the highways and stuff, it's common. But I'm like, well, that's interesting because it's during their hours, and then at 4 o'clock, and for whatever reason, we still can't figure out the 4 o'clock in the morning. Why does it start going up? Except maybe that's whenever something to do with the sunrise.
Well, it could be temperature inversion. So, you know, one of the things we notice when we do air impact assessments, I did a hydrogen sulfide assessment right up the road here in Warren about a decade ago, and every night somewhere between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, when the temperature inversion would happen and things would settle, the hydrogen sulfide levels would start to spike, right? And it would spike until sometime in the middle of the night, and then it would start to fade away. My guess is that temperature inversion started to happen again, right? That's a total guess.
Yeah, I was thinking it had something to do with, well, the sun is starting to rise around 4 o'clock in the morning. It's getting closer to being...
Or barometric pressure's changing. Right?
Yeah.
But we need a meteorologist.
Yeah. Then this other thing that my dad just noticed. So, I think the day before, it might have been, what is today? Thursday? No, Tuesday. We went up to the settlement center. And I was late getting up there, but he was up there and he was looking down at the creek there. And he noticed from above, he called me, he's like, you know why the creek is cloudy? I was like, it's cloudy? He said, yeah. And so I get here and I went up there and I was like, I looked down and I said, was this how it looked a little bit ago? And he goes, well, it looked a little bit cloudier earlier, like maybe 20 minutes before. And so I was like, well, it looked pretty clear to me. But so we went down. This is the Carnegie Mellon. Well, I went down. My dad didn't go down. He stayed up above with Eddie. But I went down, and it stunk. But I went down there, and I poked around. It was with a stick this big that I was poking around in the edge of the creek, like, you know how low it is right now. But, so this was like where the water would normally flow. and just poked around with the stick a little bit and got sheen out of there.
When was that?
Tuesday. And then after we met with the settlement place and they went to McDonald's or whatever while I met with them. But, so afterwards I went down with Randy's shovel and just right there in that same spot, I still got like, it was mostly white, but there was still like orange and purple.
A little bit, yeah.
Just as you walk right down the hill.
Okay. So where was that at? What?
Right by Chrissy's, where you walk, the post ends,
yeah.
the yellow post ends,
Yeah.
and you just walk right down, and it's like right there.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I don't know if they've cleaned there or not, but like right in there, I was like, it's just right here. And I went back a few feet from how low the water was, but it was like you dig with the shovel, it was maybe that deep, and you can, like, as soon as I dug down, you see this black layer, and usually we're like, oh, the black, you're gonna find stuff. And so that's where I dug, and then it just poured out, like, came right out.
So, you have to show me on a map where that is. Yeah, before we do that, it said, yeah, you've seen these.
Yep.
Yeah, so, yeah, everything into Pennsylvania, and then vent and burn.
Most
So-
the whole time we got down by my house, we got it.
And then what's interesting about their model on, with their model, it doesn't look like it looks like there's more going north and west than there was, but the actual atmospheric conditions, you know, because of when the deposition happened, that's why our model predicted more went into Pennsylvania than went up to Ohio. So.
Because that inversion?
Yeah. Well, because of when it happened. So
Okay.
it happened at 4 o'clock-ish, and then
Yeah, it was like
you know, then you had that
4:20
basically the
something.
big pancake above the area, and then the winds started coming in, and it blew everything down in Pennsylvania. And that's why they you know their modeling shows the majority of the fallout there, and then when it shifted, went north and west, right around the I think it was like the Youngstown Girard area.
Yeah.
You saw a blob right there.
Yeah, I called people that I know that live up there, and I said, hey, you guys need to stay inside.
Let me pull up.
They live in Poland.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah, you guys need to stay inside. Cause my one friend that lives up there has bad asthma, and it's triggered really easily. So I was like, just stay inside. By the time that wind shifted, I was already sick.
You were feeling it, yeah.
I got sick about like an hour after it happened. Is when I started feeling sick.
Okay.
Like my nose was burning, my eyes were burning. Then I got a headache. My headache, like the migraine, started around midnight. But the coughing started a little bit after it happened too.
Got it. Okay, so let me pull up this. All right, so there's Sulphur Run. There's Chris's house. So where were you?
You go right down, if this is the end house by the creek.
Yeah.
It's like you go down right here and just like right at the bottom of the hill.
Oh, by where that culvert comes in?
Yep, before the culvert.
Okay, so right there. Okay. I'll look at that. So they did their final, they did another round of reassessment. The only place they saw a sheen score of 2 was right here. Oh, I'm sorry, right here. Right behind straw huggers.
Yep, I could see how that would be.
Yeah. And so
It was really bad right there.
They're cleaning that today. And then they're going to go through and verify that area's cleaned. And then we're going to start collecting samples. See what the chemistry looks like. Probably sometime next week. If we have to go through all the qualitative assessment data first. Any solutions for resources that are important to your group? The science is pretty clear on the things where there are established science for, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's not a scientific solution here, right?
Mm-mm.
Moving forward. The solutions are legal and political, right? And I read the letter that they wrote, that the class action attorneys wrote back to you guys.
Mm-hmm. I haven't read all of it yet, but
So I did, and it was very clear that, regardless of what kind of comments you give them, unless the judge,
mm-hmm.
sees a flaw in their logic, and the fact that they're putting it in writing and, and sharing that with the public tells me that there's probably no flaws in, in their legal findings and their calculations of risk and so forth, because it was done independently of Norfolk Southern. So it's probably legitimate, right? I don't know that because I haven't seen it. So